Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren in Österreich und hier in Malaysia, herzlich willkommen bei unserem Webinar Life Science in Malaysia. I will switch now into English, not only because we have speakers in English, also some listeners to this webinar. I hope you do not mind in Austria. Well, I'm very happy to receive you kindly to the webinar of Life Science in Malaysia, where we want to give you insights about the Malaysian sector for pharmaceutical industry, clinical research and trials, as well as, last but not least, to highlight the challenges and the opportunities in this market. Before we start with the presentations, there are some issues I would like to highlight. On the one hand side, let me see for the next slide. Yes. What you might be that you are aware of that. No worries, you will get a copy of the presentation as well as the link of this webinar. So this webinar will be recorded. I hope you are fine with that. And later on, we will send to you a link to a YouTube video that you can review the whole webinar. And yeah, don't forget, if you have anything in mind you would like to know, please put it in the chat. There will be a Q&A session at the end, and we will collect all your questions and comments in order to be discussed later on. Well, what can I tell you about the sector life science before I hand over to the real experts? So the life science sector in Malaysia is quite important, an important pillar for the development of this country in Southeast Asia. Now, especially due to the fact with post-COVID, to see how many need exists in this sector. Malaysia has had already a strong pharmaceutical manufacturing base in the past, also for biotechnology. And there exist quite a lot of interesting programs and initiatives to strengthen these sectors. You will hear much more about that from our speakers later on. Yeah. It is also an important topic for clinical research and development, finding solutions for an aging population, which Malaysia step by step is also facing. And one very hot topic in Malaysia are non-communicable diseases like diabetes and also heart diseases, which are also going up. Well, the healthcare sector in Malaysia is quite interesting in that way that there is a strong public sector, but also a very strong private healthcare sector, and both have very important roles to play. Whereas also the government sees that they must find more let's say, sustainable models in order to finance the healthcare sector and to grant access to the population. Well, I think enough for introduction from my side. It's now my pleasure to hand over to our moderator, Ms. Jennifer Tang. She is the sector specialist of Advantage Austria Kuala Lumpur for healthcare. Dear Jennifer, please take over.
Hi. Welcome everyone to the Life Science webinar. It's my pleasure now to introduce Ms. Nur Hidayah Muhammad Nur from the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, which ensures quality, efficacy, and safety of pharmaceuticals in Malaysia. So Ms. Nur Hidayah is a Senior Principal Assistant Director, currently at the Industry Development and Communication section of the Centre of Regulatory Strategic Planning and Coordination. So she graduated with a Master of Pharmacy Honours from University of Wales in the UK and holds a Master degree in Medical Science on Evidence-Based Pharmacotherapy from University of Malaya. She has extensive experience in regulatory affairs over a period of 18 years, and her present post revolves around assisting related industries to better understand the regulatory requirements in Malaysia, as well as engaging industries with relevant authorities and expertise. So I hand over to you now, Ms. Nur Hidayah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jennifer, for the kind introduction. Okay, hi everyone. As introduced, my name is quite long. It's common for Malaysians, so call me Hidayah. Okay, the outline of my presentation today, I'll give a brief introduction on what is Mpre, our roles and functions, our websites, and some statistics and recognition and collaborations that we have so far. Mpre, or known as National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, is a government department under the Pharmaceutical Services Program under the Ministry of Health Malaysia. Our scope of service is to regulate pharmaceutical traditional products through registration, licensing, and surveillance activity, as well as regulation of cosmetics products via notification. Okay, this is our structure under the Pharmaceutical Services Program. There are 5 divisions under the Pharmaceutical Service Program, and Mpre is one of them. Okay, our vision, this is our vision and missions, and our objectives is to ensure that therapeutic substances approved for the local market are safe, effective, and of quality. This is also to ensure that cosmetic products approved are safe and of quality. Okay, some history of Mpre. We are established in 1978, and over the years we have many products being registered, many category of products. And Mpre is only known in, we changed our name to Mpre in year 2016. And to date, the most recent one is the registration of cell and gene therapy products. Okay, we are working under the purview of Sales of Drug Act 1952 and regulations, specifically is the Control of Drugs and Cosmetic Regulation 1984. And there are also other laws and regulations that must be adhered to when we do the registration of products. Okay, for the product registration, it has to undergo a committee that we call the Drug Control Authority that comprises of many experts before the products can eventually get registered. As for the licensings and cosmetic notifications, it is under the purview of Senior Director of Pharmaceutical Services. Okay, the roles and functions of Mpre. There is our main functions. There is registration and notification, registration for products and notification of cosmetics. Then we do licensings, analysis of products, surveillance activities for the registered products, pharmacovigilance activities. We do offer trainings and do some R&D. Okay, this is the organization chart of Mpre. We have 4 main centers under Mpre. Okay, as for myself, I am from the Center of Regulatory Coordination and Strategic Planning. So we comprise of 6 sections under this center, and I'm from the one-stop center. What we do here, as from the one-stop center, we assist the industry. As on top of that, we handling and monitor the online product registration and the online system. Okay, the next one is more related to the product evaluation and registration, where we call the center as Center of Product and Cosmetic Evaluations. We have 7 sections under this center, and the sections are categorized based on the product category, where they do the evaluation, and if the product is fit for registration, then the product will be registered. Okay, these are the activities under this center. So at this center where the products are being evaluated for registrations, or there is any variation or additional indication, so the information will be evaluated here. And also they do the bioequivalence study and the CTIL, also the cosmetic notification under this center. Okay, these are the product categories that is regulated by Mpre. Okay. The next one, when the product is to be registered or the product has been registered, it will fall under the jurisdiction of Center of Compliance and Quality Control. Under this section, we have a good manufacturing practice section. For every product to be manufactured, the facility must have this standard, the good manufacturing practice sections. So after the products being registered, it will be monitored by the surveillance complaints section to ensure the product's quality and consistencies. And the others are the sections that works together to ensure the product safety and quality. Okay, these are the scope of this center. As I mentioned earlier, we do inspection on the manufacturing sites for its GMP and good distribution practice. Okay, all right, okay. In any case where the company not sure of the product classification, they can always come to us and we can help to do the product classification from them. There are fees for these services and it's stated in the form. The form is available on our Mpre website. Okay, hang on. All right, okay. Here, who shall apply for product registration? For every product to be marketed or imported into Malaysia, it must be registered with Mpre. We call the company product registration holder. The company must be a locally incorporated company that is registered with the Companies Commission of Malaysia with nature of business or scope of business related to health or pharmaceutical product. If the applicant is not the product owner, there must be a letter of authorization from the product owner to authorize the PRH or product registration holder. Okay, it's all online. There's no manual submission. Every submission must be done online with our web-based online submission system. We call that Quest 3+. First, before the company can access into the system, they must be a member to the system. This can be done by purchasing the USB token to access the system. USB token, there are a few options for the validity and the price for each token. Okay, this is the product registration process. How the product flow from the registration, evaluation, and eventually the product being registered. Okay, this is the fees for every registration product. It depends on the product categories and the type of the product itself. All this information is available on our website. Okay, these are the timelines for the evaluation process before the products can eventually be registered. It depends on the product category as well. Okay, this is our websites and the applications that we have. Okay, for our website, or any information regarding the requirements, the documents that we refer to, and how to access the system, you can go to our website. That is the mpra.gov.my. Our online system is a Quest 3+ system. For every product that is registered, we will publish the information on our website. It's either you can check from our website or you can use the apps, the Mpre product status search. Okay, all right. For every information of the products being registered, in terms of how many products being registered based on product category, you can find the information in annual report, in our annual report. The latest one is 2021. All the information is being published here for your reference. Okay. Okay, lastly is the recognitions and collaborations that we have so far between Mpre and other authorities. Okay, we are working closely with WHO and our GMP is accordance to PICS standards. And also we have collaborations with many other countries like ASEAN, HSA, and okay, all right. Okay, I think that's all. Should there is any questions on the regulatory requirements or to register our products, you can always contact us via phone, or you can just email us. We will help you with the necessary requirements that you need. I'm sorry for a very quick presentation, as only limited time is given for the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nur Hidayah. Yes, as mentioned, it's quite a brief presentation, but we do have a question and answer session later. So
Yeah,
for
sure.
anyone who has questions about the presentation, please feel free to put it into the question box and we will address it at the later session. Thank you. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ahmad Yusuf from Clinical Research Malaysia. So Dr. Ahmad graduated from the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland and practiced medicine in both public and private hospitals for 10 years, and then later worked with American International Assurance and he led the medical department in AstraZeneca for over 13 years. His main fortes in the pharmaceutical industry are clinical research management, regulatory affairs, medical and government affairs. He now leads Clinical Research Malaysia as Chief Executive Officer since 2015. CRM is a Malaysian Ministry of Health owned company established in 2012 to promote sponsored research in Malaysia. One more thing, Dr. Ahmad is also a member board of Trustee National Institute of Biotechnology Malaysia. So I hand it over to you, Dr. Ahmad.
Hello, just sound check. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Good. Very good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation, Jennifer. I will start with the outline of my presentation. Here it is. I'll be doing a little bit of introduction, the clinical trial capabilities in Malaysia, how we deliver clinical trials with speed, reliability, and quality. And at the end of the day, there's a closing summary. Right. CRM was established back in 2012, and this year is our 10th year. Our mission as a company owned by Ministry of Health is to be able to manage sites in clinical research. From all these experience of the management of clinical research, CRM now is accredited with ISO 9001 quality management system and ISO 37001, which is anti-bribery and anti-bribery management system. Next slide, please. CRM function is a one-stop center. As I mentioned earlier, as a site management organization, we work to make sure that, first of all, this clinical research is feasible to be conducted in Malaysia. We help in terms of budget negotiation for the clinical research. We do some legal review in terms of the non-disclosure and also confidential disclosure agreement. At the end of the day, when the clinical research is given to the country, the sites, we will review the clinical trial agreement and help to expedite the agreement so that clinical research can be conducted. We work as intermediary between the regulatory bodies, the ethics committee, and also the sponsors. So as a result of these 10 years of experience, we have worked with more than 180 sites in Malaysia. We have at least 1,000 investigators that has been conducting clinical research across therapeutic area. Next slide, please. Once clinical research is granted to the sites, we aim to deliver the clinical research with speed, quality, and reliability by helping to provide trained personnel in the clinical research. And this is taken from the budget from the clinical research itself. We help to review the trial agreement, as mentioned earlier, handling the study budget, and also tackle the issues for study recruitment and so on. So on that basis, sponsors, contract research organization We'll only deal with the regulatory in terms of the notification and submission of the relevant document, monitoring clinical trials, and also project manage. Can you move to the next slide? Next slide, please. I'm going to go into the clinical trial capability. Just a little bit brief of Malaysia. We are a small country with 32 million populations. If you look at the demography of the population, 70% is between 15 to 64 years old. The population is growing in terms of the more than the aging population, and we believe by 2030 we will end up with 10 to 15% of people at this age. But in terms of clinical trials, we have a good number of patients, which is 70% within 15 to 64 years. Our populations are multi-ethnic, and we believe that 1/3 of world population genomics resides in Malaysia. Next slide, please. As mentioned by Renard, non-communicable disease is a big challenge in Malaysia. In terms of hypercholesterolemia, 1 in 2 Malaysians are hypercholesterol, and 1 in 5 Malaysians are diabetes, and 1/3 of Malaysians are hypertension. Not a very good statistics, but these are the challenges that we are addressing, and clinical research is part of it. We also see a lot number of cancers, and the typical common cancers in Malaysia, the top 3, one is breast, colorectal, and lung. Next slide, please. In terms of speed, clinical research is delivered with starting up time improved in the past 10 years. We have a parallel submissions for regulatory to National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority, which is to approve the clinical trial import license, and the ethics committee. Looking at it, these are the numbers that is reported by the George Clinical, 30 days of approval time for the regulatory, and 51 days for the 51 calendar days for the ethics committee. Next slide, please. That puts Malaysia as one of the what you call as competitive countries in this region to start up a clinical research. This data is reported by Frost and Sullivan back in 2020. Can you move on to the next slide? By density, in terms of the population and the number of clinical research, there are rooms to put Malaysia to send clinical trials in Malaysia. We are one of the less density in terms of the number of clinical trials per population. Next slide, please. And in terms of cost, we are one of the cost-effective countries in terms of conducting clinical research in this region, and of course in the global as well. Next slide, please. Of the 10 years of managing clinical research, we have conducted more than 1,900 clinical research that is sponsored, meaning what do you call that, sponsored by international organization, pharmaceutical and contract research organization. Predominantly, we have done a lot of oncology clinical research, more than 220, cardiology, infectious disease, hematology, endocrinology, pediatrics, and nephrology. Next slide, please. Our team of study coordinators is scattered across the country. This is the geography of Malaysia. We have the East Malaysia and the West Malaysia. West Malaysia is a peninsula. The north is Thailand, and the south is Singapore. And you can see that there are 160 study coordinators which is GCP qualified that is located in areas across the country. The highest number of the study coordinators is the number of the high clinical research and challenging geography area. Next slide, please. These are the top sponsors from 2015 to 2021, with the number of clinical trials stated in the numerical beside the company. And we have worked with all these multinational companies for more than 10 years, and they include companies that are producing ethical medicine and also medical devices. And these companies are very active, and this is only the top 10 or 20 companies that is conducting clinical research in Malaysia. We are happy to share with you more if you needed to understand more numbers. Next slide, please. So this is my second last slides with the 10 years celebration of clinical research in Malaysia. Clinical Research Malaysia, we are organizing a Clinical Research Malaysia Trial Connect on the 14th and 15th October. To know more about clinical research in terms of Malaysian capability in global research, we are targeting the audience with the sponsors, the stakeholders, including the regulators and also the research institution. There will be a keynote address from the Minister of Health, which is our chairman. He will also join in the plenary and symposiums session and participate in the forum. There will be a networking event and exhibition. If you are interested, please contact us directly. Otherwise, you can visit us at our website, www.clinicalresearch.my. Next slide. This is my last slide. We just summarize in terms of the conclusion. CRM is the largest site management organization for sponsored research in Malaysia, and sponsored research can come from pharmaceutical company, international organization, contract research organization, and so on. Malaysia conduct clinical trials with speed, reliability, and quality. We welcome global pharmaceutical medical device companies to leverage the opportunities that is available in Malaysia. So with that, I thank you. I'll be happy to answer questions from the inquiries later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Akmal. Yes. Thank you for the information. And yes, as mentioned, please submit any questions into the Q&A box and we will get to that in the later session. Yes, so now it will be my turn to just give a brief overview of different sectors of life science in Malaysia, as well as challenges and opportunities for Austrian companies. So just a brief overview, first life science in Malaysia and the healthcare system. So the Malaysian healthcare system is a two-tier system where 52% to 52.5% is public and 47.5% is private. This is based on total healthcare expenditure. But in terms of facilities, private hospitals do represent 60% of total facilities in Malaysia. Projections by Fitch Solutions put the Malaysian healthcare market value at $23 billion by 2025 and $30.5 billion by 2027, with a forecasted 5 years compound annual growth rate of 8.9%. In the 12th Malaysia Plan, the government has named some of the following among their key goals, which is reducing gaps in access to healthcare, improving vaccination, also improving the overall healthcare system and services and increasing health literacy, combating non-communicable diseases, as mentioned earlier, and also turning Malaysia into a healthcare hub destination. In Budget 2022, the Ministry of Health has also provided specific treatment allocations for radiotherapy, oncology, nutrition, blood transfusion, rehabilitation, also traditional and complementary medicine. We've already covered it a little bit earlier, but these are the top 5 common diseases, both communicable and non-communicable. So NCDs are the primary concern in Malaysia. and most notably cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, followed by diabetes. For communicable diseases, it's mostly vector-borne, which are transmitted by mosquitoes usually, things like dengue and malaria, also food and waterborne diseases like food poisoning, and infectious diseases like hepatitis B, C, hand, foot and mouth disease, and tuberculosis. And now a brief overview to supplement what Ms. Noor Hidayah already covered. The pharmaceutical industry has grown steadily over the last decade and has been identified as a key growth area. The market value of pharmaceutical products under the HS code of 30 is an estimate $3.15 billion in 2021, which is a 52% year-on-year growth from 2020. So this is obviously an amazing growth, but is more of a cost correction due to impact of COVID that reduced trade in 2020. Prior to that, the CAGR up to 2020 was at 9.5. The pharma industry in Malaysia encapsulates the entire value chain, with the main sectors being manufacturing, particularly of generic medicine, contract manufacturing for multinational corporations, traditional and complementary medicine supplements, as well as fill and finish. Just as a note, of the registered 269 manufacturers in Malaysia, about 2/3 of them are in the traditional and complementary and supplements sector. 29% would be pharmaceuticals, and approximately 5% are veterinary medicines. Development here refers to new products and research and development. Malaysia also hosts many foreign companies, which are largely importers and representative offices, who tap on a large local distribution network. And services include certifications and centers of excellence. Governance, as mentioned by Ms. Noor Hidayah, is mostly done by the Drug Control Authority and the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. For biologics or any products which are animal-based, it would be covered by the Department of Veterinary Services. So main challenges in the pharmaceutical industry would be limitations to the work process in local manufacturing, and also digital security. Logistics issues include procurement and delivery. There's been a recent shortage of medicines, lack of APIs, and access to delivering medicine in rural areas. ESG requirements have also impacted the industry as companies try to meet these requirements. Lack of staffing and gaps in skill sets. I think this is quite straightforward. Then price mechanisms. There is not yet a price control mechanism for pharmaceuticals, so there's ongoing debate between the stakeholders for the framework. Illegal products. So this especially has been a bigger issue with the proliferation and high penetration of internet in Malaysia, which makes it more difficult to control and verify. So the Mpre and the Ministry of Health are taking a lot of steps to combat this, including providing verified information on their websites. But this is still a big issue. And this links to the last challenge, which is a lack of medical literacy and lack of data, especially transparency of data. Here on the right, it's a snapshot of the main manufacturing sectors. This is from a presentation by Mpre in 2017. So these are the clusters which are mostly on the west coast of Malaysia, and the distribution channels for most pharmaceuticals are obviously pharmacies, hospitals, and general practitioners. Moving on to biotechnology. So it's experienced a phenomenal growth rate in the past few years, not just globally, but also in Malaysia, also accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic. In Malaysia, there has been a focus lately on, again, linked to ESG, renewable, non-toxic, cost-competitive products. So the bioeconomy market value is an estimate 149.1 100.1 billion ringgit in 2020 and is projected to reach 181.2 billion by 2030, which is a 15% annual growth. The sector has been well developed since the 90s, but it was accelerated by the introduction of the National Biotechnology Policy in 2005 and the subsequent National Bioeconomy Program in 2010. Just for information, the second version of the National Bioeconomy Program has been launched in September, but has not yet been released. So we will share that with you when we have the information. Also a brief explanation of two of the main actors in the sphere, which would be the National Institute of Biotechnology Malaysia, which is a consortium of the three institutes mentioned, so IFARM, ABI, and MGI. And there's also the Malaysian Biotechnology Corporation, which has been since renamed to Bioeconomy Corporation, which is the lead agency responsible for implementing the biotechnology policy. It also is responsible for the biotech transformation plan, the biotech community development, bioeconomy, bio-based accelerator program, and BioNexus. The main governance for this would be under the Ministry of Science and Technology, and the key focuses are agri-food, healthcare, and bioindustry, including bio-based materials and ESG. So agri-food would include things like ingredients for pharmaceuticals, obviously food supply, crop, livestock, aquaculture, health and nutrition, and other materials that are used in pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and cosmetics. Healthcare would be clinical research, bioinformatics, proprietary technology, biosimilars, biobetters, new entities, vaccines, IVD, and stem cell and cellular medicine. Bioindustry, bio-based materials include bioplastics, bioadhesive, and biofibers. So I think Dr. Ahmad gave us a very good overview, but I'll just run through a couple of things quickly. So the market value is estimate $52.4 million of investments in 2021, making the total contribution to the GNI value of $200 million since the inception of Clinical Research Malaysia. I think it was also covered that most of the clinical trials done in Malaysia are interventional in the sectors of drugs, biologics, bioequivalence as well. And the health and the sectors would be infectious diseases, oncology, cardiology, and hematology. The 12th Malaysia Plan lists some of its health research priorities, which include health technology, communicable and non-communicable diseases, an aging population, environment, disaster risks, and nutrition, food safety and quality. So this is an overview of the health research priorities. And finally, the challenges in this sector would be that there is currently no overarching legal framework. There are multiple guidelines available, including on good clinical practices, guidelines of use of human biological samples, standards for stem cells, cord blood bankings, and ethics guide, but no overarching framework, so they are looking to plan a Clinical Trial Act by 2025. Constraints for university and government hospitals in terms of burden, that would be the burden on staff, as a lot of our government hospitals are overworked. So there's limited availability to perform studies. And meanwhile, academic clinicians belonging to medical schools do not have access to the university hospitals and have to rely on the government for teaching. Generally, clinical research is conducted at university hospitals, Ministry of Health hospitals, but increasingly at private medical centers. There's also research gaps in informing decision of policymakers. There needs to be a bit more evidence-based clinical trials. Previously, there were also issues with transparency and lack of trial sites, but this has been reduced with the creation of Clinical Research Malaysia. Finally, just a quick overview of the plan's policies. focus areas, opportunities in the sector, as well as factors that would make Malaysia an attractive location. So the federal and state government, as we have mentioned a few times, have all determined the different aspects of life science to be key factors in driving the nation's economic, health and social development. There are lots of plans and policies to support development in these areas, including the ones listed here. If you would like more information, please let us know and we can send them to you. We also see further allocations to the sector in the upcoming budget, which is predicted for the end of October to be confirmed, and this will also offer clarification on the status of incentives and grants in the sector, whether there's new grants or extensions of ongoing ones. What is particularly interesting would be the National Vaccine Development Roadmap, as Malaysia looks to become a hub for and create their own vaccines, and also the Institute of Contagious Diseases. Other growth, so focused areas and opportunities would be, as mentioned previously, logistics. So track and trace is a big project in Malaysia, as well as ensuring procurement and delivery to rural areas. We also look at upgrading manufacturing facilities. Some of the reluctance to this would be the impact on current production. So it's usually only new sites that would implement IR 4.0 technology. We also look at knowledge transfers via research trainings and also sandbox collaborations. So for example, there was a recent announcement that there would be 5 hospitals designated as sandbox sites for startup companies to test medical and healthcare technologies in a safe and controlled environment. This is a collaboration with Meranti in their technology park. So there will be an integrated healthcare cluster that covers 10 acres, including research and development center, artificial intelligence technology, and recuperation and rehabilitation village. Aside from that, we are also, as always, looking for solutions for non-communicable diseases and the aging population. Generics, BA and BE studies, biologics, API, NEMLs would be the National Emergency Medication List and orphan drugs. Also combating illegal and counterfeit medicine, testing including disease screening, rapid tests and product trials. Halal product development is also an important and growing sector. It is not a requirement to have halal certification, but it is an advantage. And Malaysia is focusing on this in its development. And finally, biotechnology. So for the attraction factors, as mentioned, I think we have a very strong research and development and manufacturing ecosystem. And there are lots of fiscal benefits given by the government, including tax breaks, cheaper setup costs compared to other countries in the region. Companies are also allowed to own 100% equity. There's also raw materials tax exemptions for the pharmaceutical industry. And other incentives cover the different sectors, such as manufacturing of medical devices and pharmaceutical products, training and education, research and development, including trials, and biotechnology. With that, I am done with my presentation, and we move on to the question and answer session. So if anyone has questions, please do submit them in the question and answer box so that we can address them to our esteemed panelists.
Yes, thank you very much to the interesting presentations from the 3 speakers. I would like to ask our 2 other speakers also to switch on their camera to join us. Meanwhile, when we are waiting for some questions from your side, I would like to allow myself to ask a question in order to, how to say, find out the concrete topics what we can await for the nearer future. And I would like to know from both of you where you see your respective sectors. That means the pharmaceutical industry as well as clinical research in Malaysia in the next 5 years. Where do you think Malaysia will develop itself? Where you see then from your side, yeah, the opportunities to catch? Please, Ms. Noor, if you can start.
What we can see in 5 years. Okay. It has been a continuous effort and support from us in terms of government, from the aspect of government agency to help industry to develop further on the pharmaceutical industry. Perhaps we can have more investors in our country in terms of either establishing a manufacturing site in Malaysia or doing more clinical trials in Malaysia, maybe just to give more opportunity to the market. In terms of regulatory, we in Mpre can always assist, just ask us. We can assist the industry in terms of the latest regulatory requirements to get the product registered and available in Malaysia. Thank you.
From clinical research perspective, as what mentioned by Jennifer earlier with regards to the resources, one of the functions of clinical research Malaysia is to build a profession of clinical researchers from investigator and study coordinators. When we first start back in 2012, there were only 20 personnel in CRM. Now we have more than 200 personnel. That includes study coordinators, majority, and the supporting staff of the clinical research, inclusive of legal and also finance. This has helped to improve in terms of the efficiency of conducting clinical research through the sites, through the initiative conducted by CRM. The next thing that I can foresee in the next 5 years is the ability of the nation to be able to conduct more scientific research, starting with the phase 1 and first in human. Every year in Malaysia, we do around 200 clinical research of the sponsored research, and predominantly we are in phase 2 and phase 3. We have around probably around 4 to 5 phase 1 study per year. But moving forward, we need to do or able to conduct phase 1 and first in human. This is very important to build the industry like pharmaceutical, and at the same time to support the national vaccine development roadmap, where new vaccines will be discovered by the scientists located in Malaysia. And this is very important so that our preclinical work can continue to become first in human and develop biologic and pharmaceutical industry in Malaysia. So last but not least, I echoed what Noor has been saying about the industry. I believe there is a bright future for the pharmaceutical industry, medical device inclusive, to help the nation and the companies to produce innovative products. And with the strategic location of Malaysia, I believe the country can be the strategic land point for any international pharmaceutical to start producing or even marketing their products in the region. And of course, as you know, the region has more than nearly 500 million population. Indonesia is nearly 300 million, and the rest make up the rest of 200 million. So altogether, there is an opportunity to put this country as the base for penetration to other Southeast Asian country. So I stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Noor, Dr. Ahmad. Yes, I also would say there is really a concrete ecosystem in the field of healthcare, medical technologies, and also pharmaceuticals and life science here in Malaysia, which should be tapped by foreign companies, and also to develop these sector further. I think it's quite compact program which we had. I do not see any additional questions coming in. However, if any question will come, please send us an email, let us know, and with pleasure we will share it with our speakers, or we'll try to answer it from our side. So I come now to the closing of our event, and I would like to inform especially our Austrian listeners, what is our program in the field of life science, biotechnology, and pharma. Just to see if it goes to the yes. Jennifer Tang, our sector specialist, is working at the moment on our life science report, Malaysia, and it should be ready at the beginning of March next year, giving a good insight about the developments and the opportunities in this sector. Then this building on that, we are inviting Austrian companies to come to Malaysia to present themselves in front of Malaysian companies and organizations. This is the Austria Showcase Future of Life Science. We are planning for that the date 7 to 8 of March. So please put it into your calendar. It would be great to see you here in Kuala Lumpur, where we can match you then with respective counterparts. Yes, and last but not least, we organize once again an Austrian pavilion at APHM. That's the Association of Private Hospitals Malaysia. We had a quite successful presence this year in May, and once again it will be from the 30th of May to the 1st of June. So that would be also a good opportunity for you to present your technologies and to get in contact with Malaysian distributors, hospitals, etc., etc. Yeah, not to forget, we have in the last phase already the medical technology report Malaysia. So if you're interested, please let us know and we will share with you our latest report. Just send us a short email to kualalumpur@bku.at. Yeah, I think now we are really at the end, if I remind correctly. And I say thank you very much to your interest in this topic and to join us today for this hour to know a little bit more about life science. I also would like to say once again, thank you very much to Ms. Noor Hidayah and to Dr. Ahmad for sharing their insights, for having the time to be with us and to showcase the possibilities in these respective sectors for Austrian companies. Thank you very much and have a pleasant day ahead. Goodbye.
Thank you.